Welcome to Plugins Worth Plugging In. This is the weekly podcast where we highlight a few different plugins that you may not know about and will hopefully make your WordPress life just a little bit easier. This is brought to you in part by WPTrainingVideos.com, and it's episode number 3 for the week of August 8th, 2011. We're covering WordPress caching plugins this week. If you're new and you don't happen to know what caching is all about or why you even need a caching plugin, let's give you a basic background. When a visitor comes to your site and they want to read your blog post, they'll click on the link and WordPress will actually create the page and then display the page. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but what it's doing when it's actually creating the page is in the background, it's grabbing your photos and it's grabbing your images and it's grabbing your audio or your video that you have. It's grabbing the information for your sidebar. It's talking to your theme and figuring out where it needs to place everything. It's asking your theme, where do I put the headline and where do I put this certain font? And then it goes and it asks your theme, where does the image header go? And it puts all of these questions out there and it gets all the answers back. Then it builds the page and then it displays the page. That's why a WordPress site typically will run a little slower than what a typical HTML site would run. And you can help it to run a lot faster using a caching plugin. What a caching plugin will do is basically take a snapshot of what your page looks like, and instead of building the page and then displaying it to your visitor, it will actually show them the snapshot of your page or your post. So it loads a lot faster. Your visitor has no idea because it looks identical, and it works in every single way. So your pictures are where your pictures are supposed to be, your links all work, your videos will still play, everything looks identical. It just loads a lot faster, and it gives your visitor a better user experience. Now let's highlight a few of the caching plugins that are out there. Our first plugin is W3 Total Cache, and you don't have to worry about remembering all these names because we have links to all of these plugins in our show notes. W3 Total Cache is massive, and we do like it because of that. But because it is so complete and you can adjust so many things, it can get a little complicated for a beginner. However, if you've got some experience with caching plugins or if you have a lot of experience with WordPress, take a look at W3 Total Cache. This caching plugin also works with CDN networks. In fact, they really do emphasize that. So this works with CDN networks like Amazon, CloudFront, or Rackspace. It works with networking mode, so if you use multi-sites. It also works if you happen to have forums. So there's a lot of plugins that don't or can't be adjusted to work with various plugins like forums. This one can. So again, you should have some experience with WordPress. You should know what you're doing when it comes to caching. You should know some of the jargon, and you should be willing to play with the itty bitty details that this particular plugin will let you play with. And if you're there, if you're at that level, great one to take a look at. Again, W3 Total Cache. W3 Total Cache clocks in at a little over 600,000 downloads according to WordPress.org. It's rated at 4.5 stars and has been updated within about 45 days of this recording, so we consider that current. It is compatible with the most recent version of WordPress, which as of this recording is 3.2.1. Our next plugin, WP File Cache, is the complete opposite of our previous one, W3 Total Cache. WP File Cache is kind of a caching plugin hybrid. It does not cache the entire page, and it will not speed up your website anywhere near as quickly as any other caching plugin that we're going to discuss in this podcast. And that's because of the way it works. WP File Cache only caches certain parts of your WordPress site. This means that some parts of your posts or pages are going to be built dynamically, and some parts are going to be cached. So it will help with some speed, but it's not going to be as fast as the others. So why even have this particular caching plugin on there? The reason is because it is a little different. Some caching plugins tend to conflict a little bit with other plugins. That is, they really don't play nice. And because they don't play nice, you can't use them. This particular caching plugin, if you're having problems with others, might be worth taking a look at. because this plugin is programmed to play nice with other plugins. And that's really, again, because it doesn't cache everything, just certain parts. So if you're having plugin conflict issues with caching plugins, and that's why you don't use them, take a look at this one. It might be worth checking out. We featured this one because it is a little different and it's a unique take on caching. What we don't like about it is a little old. It was last updated within about 8 months of this recording. Because it's not designed to do what a typical caching plugin does, it doesn't have as many downloads. It's only a little over 6,000, but it is highly rated. It's at 4.5 stars right now, according to WordPress.org. It is confirmed compatible with version 3.1.4. So again, it is a little old and you might want to be wary of that. It doesn't seem to have the support that the other caching plugins have, but again, if you have a specialized issue where you cannot get a caching plugin to work correctly with your WordPress site, this is an interesting alternative to take a look at. Next is WP Super Cache. Now, WP Super Cache works slightly differently from other caching plugins in that it builds static HTML files. And so that's how it basically takes its snapshot. It builds a static HTML file that looks exactly like the poster page that it's caching. And when your visitor comes to your website, it will then show them this HTML file instead of your actual WordPress site. Again, to your visitor, everything looks the same, everything works the same. It's just a cached, quicker loading version. This plugin is great if you've got some experience with WordPress and you're ready to dive in to caching. There is, of course, going to be a slight learning curve, but it's very, very popular and extensive. So you can also use this with CDNs like Amazon CloudFront. You can use this with multi-site networks. Because this plugin is so popular, it's got a ton of support behind it as well. And there have been a lot of customization options that have been added to it. So if you want to dive into some PHP scripting and make some granular adjustments to how this plugin operates, you obviously can. This plugin clocks in at almost 2.5 million downloads according to WordPress.org and is currently rated 4 out of 5 stars. It has been recently updated with the most recent version within about 30 days of this recording and is compatible with the most recent WordPress version. Definitely a plugin worth taking a look at. There is another plugin that we came across that was very, very similar to WP Super Cache. This one is called Quick Cache. The biggest difference between the two of these plugins is the UI, that is the user interface. This one does a lot of what WP Super Cache does, but the user interface is really truly the biggest benefit here. When you go to adjust the settings for Quick Cache, there's a lot of documentation explaining which individual setting does what, and there's a lot of customization that you can do as well. Maybe you have some conflicting problems because you've got a membership site. Well, you can do some settings that will help you to adjust that using this particular plugin. If you really aren't sure about caching and maybe you've got a little bit of experience with WordPress and you want to try a caching plugin, this one is probably going to be your best first plugin because of that UI, because it makes it easier to understand what caching is all about, because it does tend to walk you through the plugin itself step by step. We feel this is probably going to be your best shot. Quick Cache is fairly new and a little over 160 downloads according to WordPress.org. It is rated at 4.5 out of 5 stars with the most recent update within 30 days of this particular broadcast, and of course compatible with the most recent version of WordPress. Now let's take a look at another caching plugin that's a little unique. This one not as extensive as W3 Total Cache or WP Super Cache or Quick Cache, but it's not designed to be, because this one is specifically written for people who have low resources on their hosting provider. So if you're on a server that just doesn't have the CPU processing power that you need or the ability to access the MySQL databases often, this is a great plugin to take a look at. The name of it is HyperCache. Again, this is specifically designed to work on a server that has low resources available. If you've got the resources, probably better to stick with some of the other caching plugins we've already covered, but if you're low on resources, HyperCache will do a terrific job for you. It's got a little over 180,000 downloads according to WordPress.org and is rated at about 4.25 out of 5 stars. It was last updated within about 30 days of this particular broadcast, making this plugin compatible with the most recent version of WordPress. This plugin has a massive amount of support, so if you have any issues with it or if you need some help with it, there's definitely going to be support for you. If you're looking for the benefits of caching, but you just don't have the typical resources available, Hypercache is a great plugin to take a look at. Our final plugin is WP Widget Cache. This particular caching plugin only caches, as the name implies, your widgets, and that makes it a little unique. This plugin is actually designed to work with other caching plugins like WP Supercache, basically to help them along. So where WP Supercache would cache the entire page, this will actually cache the widgets, making the actual caching plugin that much faster. Something interesting to take a look at. We thought it was a unique take on caching plugins that you might find interesting. This particular plugin doesn't seem to have recent support though. It was last updated within a year of this recording, and it has about 50,000 downloads according to WordPress.org, but it is rated very, very highly at almost 5 out of 5 stars, but it's only confirmed compatible up to WordPress 3.0.5. Still, we thought it was an interesting plugin, at least to take a look at and bring to your attention. That does it for this week's episode of Plugins Worth Plugging In. This has been episode number 3, WordPress Caching Plugins. If you happen to be new to WordPress and you're looking for some training, check out wptrainingvideos.com. This site offers free WordPress training videos. In fact, there's over 30 of them. They cover everything from how to get hosting to publishing your first post and beyond. Again, wptrainingvideos.com. We appreciate any comments you have about this episode, including suggestions for future episodes. Please take a moment to tell a friend and share us with the world. As always, we appreciate your positive reviews, and we'll see you next week.